Hello everyone, this is Locko S, and welcome back to Star Citizen. So, been a little bit of a while, but I figured it's time to get back into Star Citizen. Usually I like to get back into Star Citizen in the winter months. It's a nice game to play when it's cold outside, nothing really going on. Definitely suited for very long play sessions. So, but more importantly, we're back because it is the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, which kind of kicks off the holiday and winter festivities for Star Citizen. Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, if you didn't know, is basically a giant ship sale. I made a previous video on it for basically sort of an intro guide. But more importantly, today is day one of the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo for 2953. And interestingly enough, they decided for this year to have the first manufacturer of the show be aliens. So this is a whole bunch of different alien and alien-inspired manufacturers, and they've always brought their ships here today to showcase us. Now, usually, honestly, for the real point of them introducing a manufacturer or picking a manufacturer for the first day of the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo is because usually they have a ship sale that they want to push, and they decided that they wanted to do an alien ship for one of their quote-unquote secret ships. That's usually how they do it. So before we go on further into the actual show floor up there, real quick, in case you don't know, the IAE 2953 has this event program splashed all over in the expo halls. When you go into the elevators and in these giant signs. So if you need to know dates and you're just walking by, you can always look at that to know what the dates are for your halls that you want to visit. And also, it is online. So, from today, November 17th, until the 18th, and it's not exactly 12 o'clock or midnight on your time zone, so it's not going to be exactly on the on the 19th, wherever you are in the world. It might not exactly tick over, but do keep in mind it's roughly the 17th to the 18th is the alien manufacturers, and then again on tomorrow Aegis will join. So if you just join IAE today, later on today, you're only going to get the alien manufacturers. If you show up tomorrow, the alien manufacturers will be here, and Aegis will be here as well. So that's a quick little intro into how that works. I myself, I will admit, am personally waiting for November 19th, which is, yeah, it's going to be Sunday for me, because Sunday we'll have Aegis on the show floor, and we'll have Crusader Industries and Tumbril as well. And these are three of my favorite manufacturers in game. Some of my other favorite manufacturers are down here on November 22nd and 23rd because they usually have Argo and Consolidated Outland together. So that'll be cool to see those two together. And otherwise, RSI is usually an interesting one. They usually have some of the bigger ships in games, so it'll be interesting to see them. Plus, usually the last manufacturer of the IAE usually has a concept sale to send you all off on. But with that being all said, it is time to go see the alien manufacturers, and it is going to be a relatively short show floor today. I like to usually in these videos go over like all the ships, kind of get my thoughts on them, walk around the shows, walk in them, see what's new, see what's changed from one year to the next, and in a day like today, as you will see on the maps around there in the corner, all we have for the alien manufacturers are basically on this floor and a little bit of stuff on the bottom floor. So let's work our way clockwise. Starting off with the Defender. Banu Defender is the only Banu ship that we have currently in-game. They do actually have custom Banu weapons for them. And in general, this is a very interesting ship because, like I said, only Banu ship in the game, so it's their very unique exterior and interior style. But also, as a fighter, it's a two-person fighter with sleeping quarters. Now, that's locked back there, and I do believe that is ship components back there, I believe. Also, they have gun racks for you as well. So you can mount. You can have personal weapons also if you need to dismount and fight on the ground, or EVA out in space and fight. So that's the Banu Defender. Interesting ship. You don't see too many of them out in the verse. It's kind of weird because one of the seats is meant as a pilot seat, and the other seat is meant as a gunner seat, but I think they might be pilot controlled, but don't quote me. So it's a very interesting ship where it's a two-man ship, and it's kind of strongly recommended that you have to fly the Defender as part of a team. But it's not the end of the world. Next up, we have what's probably the most common manufacturer here today. It's from Asperia, and they make basically recreations of Vandal and I believe it's the avian species. I forget the name of the avian species. It might pop into my head later. You don't normally hear too much of the avian species in game. It's weird. That's why I'm drawing a big blank on them. But here we have the Glaive, which is a Vandal ship. Now, keep in mind, this is technically the version 2 of the Glaive. We had an earlier version of the Glaive before, and this is not actually what the final version of the Glaive is. Squadron 42 is going to actually give us the updated version of the Glaive, and once Squadron 42 rolls around, this model will be replaced by the new Vandal Glaive. So don't get too attached to this, but overall, this is roughly what you should expect when the Squadron 42 version comes out. There will be 2 large weapons mounted on the extremities. You'll have these wing-like protrusions that also function as ship ramming blades, so you can actually ram a ship with those blades, and it'll actually deal more damage to the ship than you receive. And between the 2 heavy weapons on the wings, you do have 2 pilot-controlled smaller weapons on the nose. But that is the Vandal Blade all in itself. And also, you do sit like, I do believe it's sort of like a motorcycle-style cockpit. So you actually sit like you're riding a motorcycle. But again, don't get too attached to the Glaive. This is definitely not the final version of the Glaive. Moving over here, we have the Asperia Prowler. And, in fact, if this NPC can get out of moving the sign... Tavarin. That's what I was thinking of. So, the Tavarin we actually haven't heard a lot about in-game. We don't have even, there is lore, but we haven't seen a lot of, like, Tavarin models. They're not really doing a lot with the Tavarin language. It's kind of sort of, like, one of those things that they have, but it's not something they're actively working on right now. Probably because they're maybe not a huge player in Squadron 42 this time around. But, enough about the alien species. The Asperia Prowler here is the Tavarin boarding / dropship. So it's a stealth dropship. So they do have quite a decent bit of firepower. There's 2 big guns that are pilot-controlled up here on the wings. The pilot and co-pilot sit up here in this cockpit formation on the nose, which looks like a beak. And it is very much intentional. This looks like a ship trying to land, or like a bird coming down to, like, on top of its prey. It's very much part of the design philosophy. You also have these blades that come out that act as sort of shields and cover for the drop seats that are in the middle of the Prowler, which you can see from right there. We're going to enter the Prowler from the rear. So there is this rear ramp that you can exit and enter from the Prowler. And this does actually seal up. And there is a weird looking thing here, and this is actually an air shield. So you can actually have all these doors open, and you can actually be protected from the elements in the vacuum. So you don't have to necessarily be worried about your oxygen depleting in your flight suit or your oxygen tanks, or like your EVA suits, because they have this protective shield here. So gives you a little bit of extra safety. That way, if the doors open up mid-flight and you need to get your helmet on, you can just don it real quick. Other than that, there's a weapon rack on either side of these these drop seats or restraints here. So go ahead and you have these drop seats here. You can enter in there. There's also here more drop seats in the middle, and these are your primary drop seats because then these drop seats you mount up and you go into here. You have your weapons on the side here, and then as soon as you're in the drop zone, these doors can open up, and you hop on out, and you're into combat. You also, again, like I pointed out earlier, these little winglets on either side provide a little bit of cover through that. So you have those 8 drop seats. You can easily, with the layout of with the many doors and the drop seats and how close the drop seats are to the doors, this dropship does allow you to quickly dismount troops with ease. So you can see the door open up and then close. Also, this is spec'd out and generally designed to be a stealth dropship, so you're basically going to be able to stealthily enter your area of operations and drop off your troops quickly. So you can do it hot with the cover granted by the wings, or if you need to do it stealthily, you can do so stealthily and rapidly. There's also more drop seats up here for a total of 4 up here in the front. You have 8 in the middle, and then you have 4 in the rear. So that gives you a total of 16 troops that you can quickly drop off. There's also this side ladder here that a player is trying to climb up and has now successfully climbed and glitched through, which is okay. So you have a side entrance that you can exit and enter to. And again, you have your gun rack up there. Now, just as importantly, as you see this player enter here, that is the lower seat of the Asperia Talon, of the Asperia Prowler. If you climb up here on this funky-looking bone-like ladder, you get to the top seat, and that is, I believe, the pilot seat here up top. There is more component storages up here and behind this door. So this is where all your components are up here. Now, I do believe that the co-pilot down below can also man a turret, a remote turret that faces towards the rear of the ship to give you cover from behind, as well as provide additional firepower when where needed. So that is the Asperia Prowler. You're definitely going to have the alien tax, which is basically CIG's way of charging a little bit extra for the uniqueness of the alien ships. So you do have that. Plus, it's also high-end stealth dropship, so it's kind of expensive for a dropship, but it is strikingly beautiful. And like I said, if you need to get a whole lot of troops out into an area stealthily, this is a good bet. But there are other dropships throughout the expo, and as different manufacturers come online, you'll be able to see them and try them out for yourself. So this early on in the expo, you don't feel any pressure to get a ship right then off the bat unless you know you love it. Next up from the Tavaran, we have from the Asperia manufacturer recreating older Tavaran ships. You have the Talon. And the Talon is the light fighter of the Tavaran, and as you can see, again, very avian-like. This is sort of like a bird, like in a nest, like resting with its wings back. The Talon, I remember the Talon being the more gun-focused of the two variants, where you have more guns than the Shrike, which is, I think, almost purely missile-focused. But between both the Talon and the Shrike, both have a cockpit that opens up in the front. And you basically climb into it, so in a pilot seat. Seat comes down and you climb up into it.
I tell you, there's nothing like being at the IAE.
Glad you came. It's always better exploring the ship.
Now, yeah, I was going to point that out. So, as you can see from the outside, the Talon series and even the Superior Prowler, their cockpits are actually it's a coffin-style cockpit. Which you the closest the best way I can reference this is like Mobile Suit Gundam and Armored and Ace Combat 5 with the what's it the Falcon. Basically, the cockpit is entirely enclosed in armor, but instead, but how you see outside is through basically a display. So these are all basic individual displays, and it's reprojecting what the outside is inside without actually being exposed to it. So this is very much sort of like basically it's effectively one-way glass, but it's very much like monitor displays, acting as the one-way glass. So, see, the Superior Talon is very unique. You have, again, more holographic displays for your controls. Decent visibility all around, but you can definitely see that you are in a cockpit. And in fact, if I were to power down the ship, this entire display would turn off, and it would be just entirely dark in here. So let's get out. Can I see it kind of like it opens up to release you as you exit the ship. There we go. So that is the Talon. And the Talon is very much, again, very much in the vein of a light fighter. So, and they are very agile. They're actually fairly popular among combat fighters, but they're not like the most common fighter. And then you have the Strike variant here, and the Strike variant has, again, like it's a more missile focused, less guns and smaller guns, but it is very much missile dependent, which I can't highly recommend right now. Missile gameplay in Star Citizen is kind of dependent on server performance, because sometimes missiles will lag out and go haywire, and they'll completely miss their target, and yeah, they can do damage, but it's just as likely the missile goes dumb or doesn't lock or has some other issue, and then it just does not work, and you've wasted hundreds of thousands of AUEC on missiles to do 0 damage. So I can't really recommend missiles at this time just because of server issues. So I can't recommend missile-focused ships like the Strike as is. Next up, and from manufacturer Apoa, who do not do the new concept ship or the new fly straight to flyable ship, although they are from the same species. You have the Apoa Cartu-Al, which is a Xeon light fighter, and Apoa will be releasing a ship hopefully by the end of the year, called the Santokiai, which we will see down below. But for IAE, unfortunately, CIG wasn't quite able to sneak in the Santokiai, so all we have from them this year is the Cartu-Al. And it is a Xeon light fighter, very maneuverable, and it's very much meant as a scout. There's only 2 guns on the Cartu-Al, and that's all its armament is, but again, it is meant as a light fighter and scout, so it's not really meant to slug it out with other ships. That being said, it has this beautiful cockpit, near perfect visibility all around, as we will see as we go ahead and enter. We have the Xeon anti-grav tech. Now, I should mention something about the Cartu-Al, and I'll go into an exterior view to point this out. This is a ship in its landed mode. When the ship is in flight, the ship actually expands. Basically, this middle elongated section goes nearly vertical, and these four thruster things on the side spread out into like an X formation. So this is not how it looks flying, but this is indeed how the Cartual looks when landed. And unfortunately, we can't take off in the expo hall, so this is all you can see of it right now. And as you can see, we have the two guns up above it. There we go. And last but not least, we get to our Xperia ship here. Before we get to our last Xperia ship, before we go and talk about the newest ship in the verse. So we have the Xperia Blade, and this is the Vanduul Light Fighter. Now, I do believe that the Vanduul Blade, or the Xperia Blade, is again like a Vanduul, is representing Vanduul, and I do believe this is closer to what the ships in Squadron 42 will look like. But I do still believe that they are in the midst of changing him, so don't hold your breath for too long on these. So you can, if you want to pick one up, go ahead. They are kind of rare-ish, but again, it's just your typical light fighter, and do know that it is very likely that the blade will change up its design prior to Squadron 42 or during Squadron 42's release. So, I don't want to get too much into that here because of the fact that it will change. And you don't really necessarily want to spend, unless you really love the idea of owning a Vanduul ship, you don't want to spend your money on something that can change drastically and you end up not liking it. Now, the Aopoa has the Santok Yai as its light fighter from Xi'an. Another Xi'an manufacturer, Gatak, has released a new starter ship, or more appropriately, a premium starter ship, known as the Sulin. So, this is very interesting. It was showcased on Around the Verse yesterday, on Thursday, November 15th, or November 16th, I believe. And see, it has this very interesting, like, stone, marbled, polished stone design all across it, which is really cool. Triangular landing gear, which is interesting. Looks like it mounts the cargo in boxes on the outside here, in between these plates, which is interesting. So it looks like it has room for 6 SCU of cargo, I believe. So that's one. So this is the entrance. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to make a healthy assumption and assume that's 2 SCU. So yeah. So 6 SCU of cargo, which is neat. And the ship does actually have an interior. One of the few ships that has an interior here on the show floor today. So that's the button to use. Let's see here. Okay, so this is the lift that takes you up into the ship because the ship is vertical, believe it or not. Cool. So you have a component bay down here on the bottom floor, which makes sense because that way you can easily tractor beam components in and out through that way. This is probably the door switch, but we'll keep it open for other people. I believe that would be a suit locker of some kind there. Oh. Cool. So that's the gun rack they were talking about. So you can mount, you have 2 long arm style mounting positions, and then you have a whole bunch of pistol mounting solution, or pistol size weapons right there to mount in. Hit this button again. Folds up all like that, nice and neat. And then you have this button here, which exposes more components. Good. Alright, so here we have So that was the airlock deck. Now we have the habitation deck. Also, which is really cool, on the cabin deck, we actually do have 2 little windows into the outside world. And I really like the fact that these are vertical windows. Gives you, I think, a little bit more idea of what the outside world is like. You're not just seeing out in horizontal plane. You can look down below and up a little bit. Like, you can even crouch like this and get like a really good view up above. So while you're in the cabin, you can get at least a little idea of what your environment is outside. You have a bathroom here. I do believe this is a... Turn off the lights. Ooh. Oh, no. No, that wasn't a light button. That was a, Okay, that actually now shut the door. So you can have privacy in here while you... I guess that's the sink. I'm assuming that's the toilet. There you go. There's the toilet. That is a cool toilet paper holder. How it like rotates 90 degrees. There's your shower head up there. It's really cool, by the way, that there's like they managed to like get like a shower head like right there, and like there's a sink right there, which is pretty cool. A little storage space for all your stuff. There's your sink. Okay, now this is interesting. Zooming in on this panel here, it looks like there's different lighting states you can select. So that opens the door, and then you can go, I guess, to emergency lighting, and then you can go to regular lighting. Let's see here, what's here? Oh, that's a chair that folds in and out. Okay, that's cool. So if you want either a standing desk or a sitting desk, you can use that. It's pretty cool. I do love this natural stone roof. I'm not gonna lie. I am a fan of natural stone and architecture. So that's a really nice natural stone roof. And you even have a little bit of it here in this bed. Which is pretty cool. You can lay down in the bed, and then you have a little GACTAC symbol right there. Oh. That's cool. That's your little storage locker for your stuff. So you kind of like sleep on top of your clothes. It's pretty cool. Nice little place to sit down. Sit down, and then you can lay down. So let's see here about lying down. Nice. It's a nice little cubby hole. Let's see here. Hit that button. I guess that button closes the... Not quite sure what that does, but I think this would probably... Ooh. Okay, that's funny. That's the emergency lighting, okay. Okay, so that's bright lighting. Oh no, that's... Oh no, that's the mood lighting. Okay, that's cool. Ooh, that's fun. That's cool. That's a cool little cubby space for your cabin. Now, I'm going to go up to the cockpit floor. And when you get to the cockpit floor, you have to actually, I believe... Enter the chair that way to get up to the cabin. But here we have more components right there. Again, more components right there. That'll be later. There's more room for components up there. And here we go, entering the pilot seat. So as you can very much see, with the GATAC Sulin, you actually sit on your back when you're landed. So you more or less land the ship kind of like how Starlink, or sorry, how you land the ship how SpaceX lands its rockets, where you basically sort of like come in vertically, and you're trying to land it on the tricycle landing gear. So it's very interesting how you have like a vertical landing system in the Sulin. Now, granted, when you after you land and you pull up and you gain a little bit of altitude, then you could pitch forward and then turn off landing mode and then retract the landing gear, and then you'll fly, quote unquote, in your normal mode. But that's going to be definitely interesting. Trying to land with this in the verticals position. I do also love the visibility. You have a lot of visibility in this cockpit. Now, the only problem with this cockpit I can foresee is that it's really hard to get a sense of where you're landing. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge. So... that is definitely going to be a bit of a challenge in this ship. Figuring out how to land, if your landing spot's good, if we're going to be able to fit. Hopefully the landing camera will fix that. So last on our trip, we do have to cover the Apoa Nox. Now, while the Apoa Carthual is the only ship that they have, they do have one more vehicle in the game, and that is the Nox Grav Bike. It's not a full-fledged starship. It doesn't have quantum drive. It's just it's a hover vehicle, and it's one of those things where the hover vehicles in this game are kind of spaceships in the sense that you can definitely take this out of your ship while in orbit or in space and fly it around and use it in space, but it's definitely more of a ground vehicle than a spaceship. But thankfully, the Apoa Nox does have 2 small guns and really good visibility. And if you want an alien hover vehicle or hover bike, the Apoa Nox is for you. Now, granted, as an alien vehicle, like all the alien ships showcased here today, they are kind of expensive for what they are. It's what's known in the community as the alien tax, but it's a cool-looking ship, and some of them have features that are not found in many other vehicles, so there at least is that to consider. Now, if you've noticed, on the quote-unquote lower level and holosuite, we have these 3 ships back here. This is the display hall, if you're not familiar with IAE. And this is where we go over the various ships that have not yet been released in Star Citizen. So, quickly, we can... I like to go over these quickly, because I don't like to spend too much time, because they're still in concept. But here is the Santok Yai. The ship was probably aimed to honestly come out during this year's IAE. But unfortunately, due to some issues in development, they had to actually postpone it. But the Santok Yai is, I believe, slated to come out in the next patch cycle. So hopefully by the end of the year, if not early next year, the Santok Yai will be in our hands. It is the Xeon medium fighter compared to the Carthual's light fighter. Next up, we have the very much infamous Banu Merchantman. The ship was in active development until middle of last year, where unfortunately a lot of the devs on the Banu Merchantmen, who are all very experienced, left, and thus is basically now postponed until they can get a new team of ship artists and designers up to snuff to actually tackle the Merchantman, because it is a very large ship, and as a very large alien ship with a lot of very much flowing shapes and very unique architecture, they do not want to skimp on detail or quality, so they want to get artists trained up to tackle this very much epic feat that is going to be the Petty Merchantman. Otherwise, it is very much an alien ship. Don't expect it to come out soon. It is also very interesting because it's a cargo ship that also functions as a mobile shop. So you'll be able to load cargo up, but then also land and open it up to other people to use as a sort of traveling marketplace. So you can actually sell things to other people in the verse. Again, as a ship that is going to be very long in development, if you love the idea of a traveling merchant ship and you really want to spend the money, go for it, but just be very much warned that I can't personally recommend it because it's going to be long in development. Again, the other devs left on it, and the next series of large ships they want to tackle are RSI ships, so I don't see this being developed in the next 2 years even. Next up, and our last ship that we want to talk about today, is the Gattac Raylin. Now, the last ship that we saw was the Gattac Sulin. So this is the same manufacturer as the triangular Sulin, except this one is more of a quadruped X-shaped design. And it is a medium cargo ship of the Xi'an. So very much similar to the Sulin in layout. It's definitely, when landed, going to have a more vertical styling to it, and then it's going to transfer into this horizontal mode like this. So if you're interested in a unique-looking cargo ship, go for it. I don't know if that's going to really have much advantages over like the Misk series or other cargo haulers in game, other than the fact that it seems to very much be reliant on these Xi'an-style cargo boxes. So who knows? Nothing really has been said about the Raylin, but I'm quite sure it'll get developed in, again, like, not in the near future, but a little bit further out, because this is one of those ships that's kind of a bit rarer, so don't expect this ship to be in-game soon, even though we already have at least our first Gattac ship in-game. And that wraps it up for Alien Week here at IAE. Can't really give a hard recommendation to any of the ships here. The alien tax, where basically CIG charges a bit more for a ship because it's alien, is very real, and as such, the value proposition gets a little bit skewed, and who knows in the future if alien components might be a little harder to find. But I will say that these ships do have really cool and beautiful designs. The Asperia Prowler is probably the best argument for an alien ship here, mainly because it's a stealth dropship, and we really don't have that in-game. Other than that, again, other ships, Rulikol, or if you like the exterior, go for it. So, want to make a mention, next ship manufacturer that'll be on the floor is, I believe, Aegis Dynamics, and that's going to be a big show. Aegis Dynamics is one of the larger ship manufacturers in-game, and there's a crap ton of Aegis Dynamics ships, so keep an eye out for when they when they show up tomorrow. A lot of ships will go on sale, and that will be a long, long tour. So until next time, this has been Loco S signing out from IAE, and I will see you tomorrow where we will go over Aegis Dynamics. Until then, see you around.